How bad is the Middle East's water crisis, the birthplace of civilization where the first farmers and cities arose, is facing a grim reality? Its water is drying up. A recent study by 13 NGOs says swift action is needed across the Middle East and North Africa. More than 12 million people are at imminent risk of losing access to fresh water.
Water is our most valuable resource, but over 1 billion people currently lack access to clean sources of it.
There are perceptions that it is there in bountiful amounts and everyone has access to it because you can turn a tap, and that's a big problem.
The world is moving into a new era when water will be a resource as prized as oil. How we manage the demand will be critical, especially in areas where water is scarce.
The MENA region is home to 15 of the world's 20 most water-scarce countries. 60% of their water needs have to be imported, and Unicef warns by 2050, hundreds of millions of people will be hit with absolute scarcity.
The Middle East and North Africa region, which is home of over 500 million people, nearly half of whom are children, is the world's most water-scarce region.
Take Jordan. It's one of the most arid countries in the world, and the ongoing climate crisis is making it worse. The average Jordanian uses 40 liters a day. That covers drinking, cooking, and washing. An American, in comparison, uses around 10 times that amount. The famed Dead Sea is also drying up. Rising global temperatures are shrinking the lake by 1 meter every year. Its lifeblood, the Jordan River, is also being overused by surrounding countries. Disputes over the river's jurisdiction has added to an already volatile mix. Unilateral water development projects have been a major driver of tensions between Israel and Jordan. And in the occupied territories, the situation is much worse. Iraq, which has historically been blessed with more water than its neighbors, is also facing an uncertain future. The Tigris and Euphrates River that gave birth to the earliest civilizations are seeing their banks recede every year. Iraq's Ministry of Water Resources says that both rivers have lost 50% of their water levels in 2021. That puts some 400 square kilometers of farmland at risk of total drought. The Euphrates also flows through Syria, where 5 million people depend on it. The river provides a crucial source of electricity, but due to low water levels, hydroelectric dams could soon stop running. The Norwegian Refugee Council had a dire warning for both countries, saying that with hundreds of thousands of Iraqis still displaced and many more still fleeing for their lives in Syria, the unfolding water crisis will soon become an unprecedented catastrophe, pushing more into displacement.
Countries to take climate change more seriously. You know, we're seeing now the effects of climate change on very vulnerable groups, especially displaced communities. What we fear is that this will result in further waves of displacement, and countries like Syria and Iraq have already been hit by mass displacement and really can't face or cope with another crisis of this nature.
Water scarcity has also been blamed for driving young men to join terrorist groups. Daesh was able to expand rapidly due to their support from water-deprived communities in northwest Iraq. Farming communities limped from one debilitating crisis to another. Daesh recruiters provided assistance and groomed farmers to join their terrorist movement. Iran is another country that has a looming water crisis. Lake Urmia in the northwest has shrunk dramatically over the past 3 decades. In the 1990s, the lake used to cover around 5,400 square kilometers. Today, it's less than half that. Although the global climate crisis is the main factor for the lake's demise, experts argue that the country's water woes are rooted in decades of bad planning and managerial myopia.
The government has built lots of dams in the region to funnel water to other parts of the country. That, combined with severe drought and poor environmental management, has left the region in dire condition.
Years of extreme drought and failed policies recently boiled over into deadly protests in Iran's southwest. Temperatures there can reach as high as 50 degrees Celsius. The trickling effect of severe water shortages also paralyzed hydro dams, causing blackouts across the country.
What started out as water protests have developed into anger against the Iranian regime. According to reports, several people have been killed. Iran's government has blocked internet access in some regions and arrested protesters.
The source of life has also become a source of conflict. What we take for granted almost every day could be gone without warning. And when the taps run dry, it can make a volatile region even worse.
If water is not available, farmers lose jobs, they migrate, food becomes expensive or unavailable, and then tensions and conflicts and so many things start. So water shortage can play a role of a catalyst. And if we look at what is happening today in Afghanistan, what has been happening in Syria, Iraq, and the rest of the region, we should get really worried about the upcoming problems related to water.
In a region that has been plagued by conflict, dictatorships, uprisings, and invasions, a drought might not seem like the most pressing issue. But if the area becomes uninhabitable for human life, then all previous disputes and conflicts will seem meaningless. Because why would you fight over land when no one can live?